Hello and welcome to the Cryptocurrency News Channel. Just spent like half an hour listening to Tiffany Fong's interview of Sam Bankman-Fried. There's a couple of points I want to address. He makes some good points, maybe, but I don't fully believe what he actually says, of course. Now, let's actually start at the top. SBF said he didn't actually code the backdoor. I can sort of believe him on that one. He actually said he can't even code or barely can use the system. He knows how to use this user interface, but he did not know how to code the backdoor into the system. I mean, someone could have just coded an interface into a backdoor for a system with him. So I'm not really sure whether I believe him or not. He sounded like he was telling the truth, but he also have said before he does lie to make people like him. So, the thing is it's kind of wishy-washy if I really believe him or not on that one. I do believe him that he can't code, but the fact that he didn't have an interface into a backdoor, not really sure if that's true or not. I think we'd have to explore that some more. I think it kind of sounds true what he said, but you never really know for sure. So basically, the different balances were actually from a really, really early time when people actually wired money to Alameda and wanted to be credited on FTX. And obviously, that was something wrong with the accounting balance sheets. That I could actually believe. FTX was a pretty recent company in terms of crypto, and it only started a couple of years back. So I can definitely see that carrying over and messing with the accounts. Obviously, he talked about using FTT as collateral, and it was a way bigger position than he thought. There's too much margin and leverage, and in the end, there wasn't not enough liquidity. But Sam Bankman-Fried essentially completely miscalculated and basically he couldn't see the knock-on effects of each asset on each other. He did not bother to think that each asset was correlated with each other. So if everything fell, they'd fall at the same time. And the thing about using FTT as collateral is it's kind of like using Terra Luna as collateral. If people lose faith in your company, everything associated with your company is going to go down. I really don't know if I believe him that he didn't actually see everything was correlated. I mean, you honestly got to be way up in the clouds or just got to be plain stupid to not actually consider the point, especially after the whole Terra Luna fiasco earlier in the year. That should have given you a first clue, but he said he didn't see it. I mean, and seeing how many drugs they were on, maybe it was true they didn't see it, but I think they actually knew the risks and they took them anyways. And because of the way that Terra Luna fell, you should have known that that wouldn't be that hard to actually have the fall on knock-on effect on FTX. Because if there was one big investor that pulled out, Carolyn gave an interview too, and basically she said once he actually used FTX to bail out Alameda, they were both insolvent, right? But he never thought the thing with Alameda might actually happen. Because of the whole knock-on effects with FTX. But once that started in motion, it was completely unstoppable. To actually take down FTX, you actually had to have a bank run that basically devalued the market cap by 60% within 2 days. But looking at Terra Luna and some other cryptos, once there's a big leak about your company, you can easily knock more than 50% in 2 days. So I think what they were doing is over leveraging, over margining, and just reckless trading. And there should definitely be a penalty for that. And I think for all of us that have actually been in the crypto industry, we can all understand all crypto is correlated. I mean, everything's correlated with Bitcoin, but for a certain company, everything about every coin that's associated with your company is going to be tied with your company. So I don't really know if I buy his excuse that he just didn't really see that everything is correlated. I mean, I personally think he might have known he was over leveraged and had too many margin positions, but he was just willing to take that risk. And basically he got wiped out. And that's why everyone essentially lost their money, but it was really, really reckless. In the interview, he didn't really mention that he spent hundreds of millions of dollars to actually buy properties for himself and his parents. And he also, of the company's money, he also didn't mention that he took a personal loan of $1 billion from the company itself. There was a lot of details that they completely omitted from all of this that could actually implicate them to fraud because they didn't really ask any of those questions. But from the questions asked, I could see there was really gross negligence along the way. So the other thing about SBF that I found was really interesting is that he said FTX US, not FTX International. FTX US was completely solvent, and he regrets filing for bankruptcy and that he was peer pressured into doing it. Now, since FTX US and FTX International are two separate entities, I can sort of believe him on this. But he actually says recovery should be pretty good for FTX.US. And in fact, it's because like the AWS keys are actually locked out that people can't start their withdrawals for FTX.US because he says they're 100% solvent and they're actually way over the solvency mark. So he's actually blaming regulators for stopping the recovery from FTX.US. SBF did open up the Bahamas withdrawals because there were a lot of angry people in the Bahamas at him. So he actually did warn the Bahamas government that it was actually coming, and he said he did it for FTX's possible future. Now, I don't believe FTX actually has a future, so this is a moot point, and he might have just like done it because he was afraid he was going to get pwned in the Bahamas because there were a lot of people that were actually angry at him. I still think there's a lot of angry people at him in the Bahamas regardless, but he actually did it because he wanted FTX to have a future, and you can't incorporate in an area where there's a lot of people mad at you. Not that there's not a lot of people mad at him right now. There still is. So I don't really think he can actually recover his reputation in any way, shape, or form because like even the stuff he actually says in the interview, which I will link in the comments as the first comment, I don't think like people actually believe him all that much. I mean, I really don't believe him all that much either. And these are just like kind of my thoughts about the interview. About donations, he actually said he donated about the same to each party, both Democrats and Republicans. He actually used a loophole in Citizens United to donate about $37 million to the GOP through dark means. And the reason he did that, he said, was because like he thought like the liberal news media would actually go nuts if he donated that much money to the Republican Party. That much I can actually believe because I've seen it, so I can actually believe that. So he did actually say in the interview that he donated about the same amount of money to both political parties. That makes a lot of sense. Usually these rich guys, they will play both sides of the fence because they don't want to be caught out on one side. They really don't want to be like caught out on like one side of the fence because if they're actually caught out on like one side of the fence, if the other party wins, they could be screwed. So it kind of makes sense for them to play both sides. I mean, his co-CEO did donate a lot to the Republican Party, but probably through Citizens United, they might have donated a lot to the Democratic Party as well on the other side. The Ukrainian theory, obviously, he says is complete BS, and he doesn't even know like how that would be pulled off. He said that he wished he could be part of it, but he's not part of it. So essentially, like on the political donations, he donated to both sides. He did it like on the disclosed form to the Democrats and undisclosed to the Republicans through a loophole in Citizens United, which, by the way, is probably the worst case ruling in political campaign contribution history. It basically allows companies to donate infinite amounts of money and buy elections. So hopefully they can overturn that. Because if the Supreme Court can overturn precedent in Roe vs. Wade, they can definitely overturn precedent in Citizens United because that is a really, really, really bad ruling. Corporations are not people, folks. So he also says he doesn't know who hacked FTX. Now, I don't really believe him on that one. He says he has an idea of who it was. It could be an ex-employee or someone who installed malware on the employee's computer. I think ex-employee makes sense, but there is a good chance that it is someone from the exec team, honestly. So I definitely think it's someone from the exec, someone like around the vicinity of FTX because they had all the access. It may not have been SBF himself because he doesn't know how to program and all that stuff, but someone in his circle probably did, and there's a good chance it was them. I think the timing of the hack was like way too convenient to be someone that's like far off from the leadership team. So SBF also does not listen to his lawyers, and that's not very smart because there's going to be criminal cases actually put up against him, and if he incriminates himself, he's kind of screwed. Now, in civil cases, if you keep taking the fifth, it will actually hurt you. But if you incriminate yourself, it even hurts you even more in a civil case. So I think SBF should actually listen to his lawyers. He's like, the lawyers don't understand. They might be experts in their areas of expertise, but they don't really know like life and how to repair your reputation. I got news for you, Sam. You can't repair your reputation. Your reputation is pretty much shot. It doesn't really matter what you say. So it actually might make sense for you to actually listen to your lawyers because you don't want to implicate yourself. And right now, the feds are probably just waiting for you to actually implicate yourself on your world implication tour, and then they might actually nab you. So on the subject of recovery, he says like they have like $4 billion that's waiting to be injected, and he needs like the AWS keys because obviously he has a really big AWS bill he didn't pay or something, or like the lawsuit kind of like locked his funds. I don't know if he actually has that. He might not. But he's actually blaming the regulations and the I guess the criminal or the lawsuit system for actually him not being able to release the funds on FTX US. He said like FTX International people can maybe expect to get about 25 cents on the dollar back. I doubt that. I don't think there's any money left there. And FTX US should actually be able to get a lot more back. So that's kind of what I got from the interview altogether, all the information I was able to recover. Once again, I'll link the interview in the comments, and that's kind of like what my thoughts on the interview actually were. There are a lot of things I don't believe him on. A lot of things are a little too convenient, but I do think he actually came forth with a lot of things. Like, the donation stuff, like he donated about an equal part to both parties. Like how FTT kind of fell apart, although it wasn't that detailed of a run. He forgot that like all his crypto was correlated, which is something you should never forget because that's always been true. And he didn't learn anything from Terra Luna. So what we've learned is this guy thinks he's really smart. He's not. He was actually pretty stupid for discounting the risk, and he's not very good at actually estimating and managing risk either. There's a lot of stuff that he actually didn't actually talk about, like him taking a personal loan from the company and all that stuff. I don't know if he would actually answer any of those questions. I know he's trying to clear his name, but I don't think it's actually working at all. But, it's actually a pretty good kind of like synopsis of what he actually said in the interview and my thoughts on it. So let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button, and I will see you guys later.